Basically, you just have to copy the movements you see. And I'm a very bad dancer, and he was a very bad dancer too. But we were just going out there to put on a show and humiliate ourselves. Because I swear, when you do that kind of thing, just like the minutes after, you feel so free. It's fabulous. You feel like you just don't care at all about what happened and how people judged you anyway. And if you are scared that people will judge you, I have to say, people forget about you in 5 minutes. Let's go.
Kevin Ferreira, thank you
Yes.
for joining me on the AUXORO Podcast. I'm excited.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, for those of you who don't know, which is all of you, because it would be weird if you knew that Kevin was teaching me French, unless you were somehow hacking into my computer. So we met on the app called iTalki, and I wanted to take French lessons to learn how to speak to my girlfriend's parents, because my girlfriend's parents barely speak any English. They're from France. My girlfriend's from France. And so that's how we met on iTalki. And I wanted to start out talking about languages. So first of all, how many languages would you say you speak fluently? Or close, like if you could talk on a podcast in a language?
I would say 4 languages.
What languages?
Well, French, obviously, English, Spanish, and probably Portuguese as well.
French, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Okay.
Yes.
How many languages would you say you know the basics of? Or you've taken a few lessons in, at least?
1. And that would be Russian.
Russian.
Yeah.
Okay. So you speak 4 languages very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know the basics of a 5th one. So what makes you fascinated with languages, with learning languages, with teaching people languages, and kind of what drew you to teaching people like myself on iTalki?
Well, I would not say that I have a fascination for languages, first of all, because even when I chose in which university I would go, I chose by default, meaning like I had a counselor and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And basically he said, look, sit down, we're going to look at your grades and that sort of thing. And he said, oh, you look great at languages. Why wouldn't you go to the university and learn more languages? And I was like, yeah, okay, why not? So, no, I think it's just I've always been good at it at school. So it was like the most natural choice, I would say. And then what drew me to teaching, I would say it's people around me. Because many times where somebody had a problem understanding something, I was the one trying to help them understand what's going on with this, try to explain the concept or something like this. And at some point, it's just that people tell me, you're a good teacher, you're good at teaching. And I just thought, okay, so maybe I should try to do that. And that's why I applied to iTalki. And it went well. So I guess people were right.
So it was something you fell into more than something you chose out of a fascination or a long-term career choice, something like that.
Yes, because I would say it's always been hard for me to choose something, always. And at some point I just felt, look, you just gotta do something you are comfortable doing, you're good at, and working as a tutor worked perfectly. So it seemed like a good match. But I still needed to actually do it to see, okay, can I actually do this every day? Can I actually teach people? Can I earn people's trust to teach them? And that was important.
Yeah.
And it worked. So I guess, as I said, I think people were right, actually.
Yeah. When I first became interested in learning French, I actually bought another program before I started scheduling lessons on iTalki. And this guy was selling courses on how to become fluent in any language in 3 months. And he had a ton of positive reviews, which I know you can fake positive reviews. Obviously, that's something a lot of podcasters do. They'll have 5,000 reviews on iTunes and they have a few hundred downloads an episode. So I'm not a stranger to that. but it seemed legit. And I bought the course, and 3 days in, it was not even tailored to French. It was just a general, whatever phrases you need to learn, insert the meaning here. It was based off of English. So you would basically just translate it into whatever language you're trying to learn. And after a week and a half, I was doing everything this course said. And I knew maybe how to say 3 things. Like I went on a walk, and I went to the grocery store, and my mom's 25, which she's not, but I couldn't count that high. So it's like my mom's 25. And I started doing the math, and I realized that if I'm going to become fluent in 3 months, I know 3 things now. So this is not happening. And I wanted to ask you, do you think there's a gene when it comes to learning languages, that there's some people that just pick up languages easily where they can become fluent, or at least appear to be fluent in 2 to 3 months? Am I basically an idiot? Is it a fraud, like some aspects of fraud in the industry? Like what are your thoughts on becoming fluent in such a short period of time?
Well, I would say being fluent in a language in 3 months, that's not possible. That's not possible at all, unless you work 24 hours a day, and that's not physically possible. Of course, you have some methods and strategies you can use to be more efficient, or to accomplish something very precise or very technical. If you want to prepare for an interview, that sort of thing, you can target things, and then you can develop a strategy to accomplish this. That's possible. But to be fluent, that it's too much work. It's too much work.
Yeah.
It's what I tell people. It's like learning a language is like eating an elephant, and you cannot eat an elephant in 1 day. That's not possible. So you need to cut it down a little bit, and that's where grammar is actually useful. You need to cut it to pieces and put them in the right order. And when you do things right in the right order, you have a good work ethic as well. Things go smoothly, and then you will have the impression of actually moving forward, going forward, learning stuff. But
I disagree. I disagree with the elephant analogy, because you can cremate an elephant. You can cremate the elephant, mix it into probably 5 or 6 protein shakes, the most disgusting protein shakes you've ever drank in your life, and protein shakes are already disgusting. And then you could probably eat an elephant, I would say, in under 2 days. So based on that, you could become fluent. You could become fluent in eating elephants in 2 days or less. That's the course that I'm going to start to make money.
I don't like. You get my metaphor, right? But
yeah,
like,
I know.
I think you get the idea. But yes,
yeah, no,
technically,
I'm just.
you could do this technically.
Yeah, I'm just playing around.
Okay, but yeah, no, that's not possible. When you have someone telling you, yes, you can progress that fast in 3 months, that's not possible. Because first of all, it doesn't even depend on what this person is doing, because the influence a teacher or tutor has on you is very limited. Like, it can show you the way, it can this person can guide you, show you the way, but then you have to work by yourself as well. And the tutor or your teacher doesn't have the power to be like, come on, you need to work now, you need to learn the vocabulary, you need to learn the conjugation. That's not possible. So this thing, it's unrealistic.
Yeah. So we do lessons once or twice a week, and like I said, my girlfriend also speaks French, so I get some practice there as well. And when I have weeks where maybe I'm super busy or super lazy and I don't really practice in between lessons, I feel like I either stay the same or get worse. So there's definitely the aspect of doing the repetitions in between the lessons, or else it just falls out of your brain. Like when I'm in a lesson, I feel like I'm going to remember everything in the moment. And then the next day I forget it all. And then the next day after that, I started to forget the shit even before the lessons. So it's like, for me at least, unless you're practicing it in between lessons, then it just seeps out. It feels like my brain leaks out French words every day if I don't at least look at something.
That's normal. And that's why I tell people, when you learn a word, you must use it in a sentence after, or read it somewhere, or write it somewhere, or just use it to talk to someone you know. Because if you don't refresh all the time, of course, you're going to lose most things. Like people forget most of the things that happened last day, right? So it's the same thing with words. Why would that be different? Of course, like I teach you words, I teach you expressions, I teach you conjugation, I teach you grammatical rules, that sort of thing. But if you don't practice them, like there's no way, like your brain cannot swallow things all the time. It's not possible. Like you need to do something to help your brain to retain that information, to remember it, and using it is a good way to do that. Like
So if
what I say about this, it's like there is no magic trick when it comes to learning language. People that sell you magic tricks, I think, are just trying to manipulate you in some way. That's not possible.
Yeah, I was going to say the becoming fluent in 3 months, someone trying to sell you a course like that is the influencer version of getting a 6-pack in 2 weeks. It's like it's very, they sell you the goal that's very enticing, and the goal distracts you from the actual work. Because if I actually thought about what it takes to learn a language and all the things that go into it, and I'm more familiar with working out. So whenever I see the fitness stuff about, get a 6-pack in 2 weeks, or, add 200 pounds to your bench in a month, I always know that's bullshit, because I'm familiar with the progression inside the gym, but I wasn't really familiar with it with learning a language. So if you have a wide audience and most of those people have never learned a second language before, you could trick them the first time, but then once they realize that, you've already gotten their money. So it's like you don't need recurring customers. You just need a big audience to trick, and then in the short term you make money, but then long term, your reputation probably goes to shit unless you switch to something else. Hey guys, this is a quick reminder that the 2 best ways you can support the show are by 1, leaving a rating and comment on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. This is like foreplay for the algorithm, because it revs it up and makes our show appear higher in searches. And number 2, you can subscribe to AUXORO Premium at auxoro.supercast.com, where for $5 a month you get bonus episodes and more exclusive content. Thank you for however you choose to support the show.
Well, but that's also the customer's responsibility to not fall for anything, right? If something seems too shiny, then there's probably something wrong with it.
I should have done more research.
But I can't really blame people that try to do those things. Like, I understand, like, you want to get money and you try something. Of course, that's not recommendable. I understand it, but also, if you fall into that trap, that's also your fault, I think.
Yeah, I take responsibility for the $39.95 that I no longer have. He got me. So you said before that you have a very hard time choosing things. Why is it so hard for you to make a decision?
Why is it so hard? Because...
Choose an answer.
Many times, yes, because it happened many times when I had an idea, and I can see how this idea can develop over time and where it would lead. But after just a couple days, I don't have the enthusiasm for this idea anymore, and I've jumped onto another idea. And that's the problem. And I keep doing this all the time. And I know I'm not the only one having this problem, because I have many friends with the same issue. They just have different kind of ideas. Like, it's plenty of like mid-term goals or mid-term ideas. And it sounds cool, it sounds sexy. And then after a while, it's just like the idea is gone and it's been replaced with a fresh new idea.
Yeah.
And that's good, because I think it makes me quite creative. But it's also very bad, because you cannot always do the same thing. You cannot be reliable. Like, even when I have an idea now, I don't really trust it, because I know that in a couple days or a couple weeks I will reject that idea and move on to another idea. And when it came to choosing a career or university degree, it was the same thing. It was, okay, I can do this and then maybe become this, but also I could do those 10 other options, and I could see myself doing those 10 things as well. and then you're stuck because you don't know. You lack the experience of the reality of what this job actually is. What is it like? Does it suit me? Because especially when you're 18 or 20, you don't really know yourself at all, and it's really difficult because we had this discussion yesterday or the day before. But when you're 18 or 20, it's very rare that you find someone with a clear vision of, I want to do this. You have people like this. I met people like this, so that kind of people exist, but it's quite rare, I think. And especially when you're 18, you don't know yourself, you don't know what you would like to do, you don't even know what kind of environment you want to grow in, you don't even know what kind of qualities you appreciate in people. I think that was my case. So yeah, like it was very foggy at that time, especially when you're 18. I had my best friend at that time. His name was David, still is David though. And he had the same issue. Like he said, it's the same thing. I could be psychologist, I could be teacher, I could be work in accounting, that sort of thing. And nobody knows. And I think at some point, what helps you decide is just the experience. When you dare to do something, when you dare to try new things, when you dare to explore things, it's when you actually explore things in the world that you find something in yourself. And that takes time, that takes experience. You cannot get it from just at school. That's not possible.
Yeah. And you said something about having new ideas that distract you from your main goal and being creative. So I feel similarly where when I have an intense, passionate moment for an idea, when an idea comes up inside me and I feel the fire of a new wave of something burning that's gonna, it's different from what I'm doing now, but the idea is so intense and I convince myself it's gonna work and I haven't even started working on it yet. I've started to distrust that passion. When I feel something so intensely, and I could be wrong to do this, it's a signal to me that this is not a long-term thing. It's kind of just like you're in a relationship and you see a really hot girl on the street and you think, holy fuck, like I'm going to drop everything for this girl. And then you remember, oh wait, I've been in a relationship for 8 years with this other person who makes me really happy, but you see all these shiny objects walking around. I think it's the same thing with ideas sometimes where you're working on something, like for me, it's podcasting, and then another idea comes along that's going to completely take away, maybe 5, 10, 20 hours a week, a huge chunk out of my podcasting time. And I used to follow that track much longer. I used to get swept away by ideas much more easily. And now I tell myself, I'm not gonna commit to something if I don't at least go on a long walk or I at least sleep on it. Maybe I'll say, okay, I feel really good about this right now, but then 1 week from now, let me see if I still want to do it. And 99% of the time, a week passes or even 1 day passes, and I think that was idiotic or that wasn't for me. And the feeling just goes away. It just passes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like I think that's a sign of maturity as well. When you notice like some patterns going on all the time, and at some point you're just like, okay, I know this is going on. I'm aware of this. So let's see if that continues after. But when it comes to choosing a career, I think what helped me also decide what I wanted to do, it's not asking myself, what job do I want to do? It was, what kind of lifestyle do I want to have? And that changed a little bit the perspective I had on this, because it was not really about the job. It was more about the kind of life I wanted to have. Did I want to work 9 to 5? Did I want to, I don't know, do the same thing every single day with the same people all the time? And when I was in London, I've done many different kind of jobs. And that's where I actually realized, okay, working 9 to 5 for me, it's not gonna work, because I feel like I'm stagnating all the time. I feel like I'm doing the same thing every day. I feel like a robot, and that's not possible for me. I need to find an escape, because I was feeling like I was lacking oxygen in there, and that was not possible. And when I worked as a door-to-door salesman, we had meetings every Saturdays. And the people that were hosting those meetings were actually millionaires in London. My boss was a millionaire. He lived in a penthouse, and very nice penthouse, by the way. And that, of course, when you meet people like this and when you talk to them almost every day, their ideas inspire you in some way or another, whether you want it or not. And the environment, the mindset people had in the company as well, of saying, look, now we're teaching you sales and we're teaching you recruitment and how to manage a team, that sort of thing. And this job was very hard. Doing door-to-door sales, it's very hard, especially for mentally. Mentally, it's very hard because I got paid according to the amount of sales I was doing per day. So, for example, if I sold 0, I got paid 0, right? And there were some weeks where Monday, 0, Tuesday, 0, Wednesday, 0. You wake up Thursday morning, you have to be tough mentally because, you know, at the end of the week, the landlord is going to ask for the rent, you need food, you need to pay for the transportations, for everything. And you know, London is a very expensive city. And when you've done the 3 first days of the week and you've done 0 sales, and then you wake up Thursday and you just like, look, now I have no choice. I need to actually step up and do something, right? It really is a bit hard and extreme for some people, but I think it helped build more character and more resilience as well.
Because what were you selling?
I was selling, it was charity work for the charity was called NSPCC, National Society for Protection Against Child Cruelty. And basically my work was to knock on people's door and try to convince them to give money to this charity. So each time someone gave £10 a month, I got £30. Right.
So if they signed up for £10 a month, you would get £30 total. You wouldn't keep getting money.
Like it was £10 a month for 6 months.
Okay. So you'd get half of that.
Yes, and if they decided afterwards to cancel their donations, 2 weeks later they took £30 from my paycheck, off my paycheck.
That's fun. I just had I had a conversation with a friend who he works in sales and a very big company, very big corporation, and they work in software sales. And he was telling me that sometimes there are people that make sales so big. So let's say that they'll sell $20 million of software to a company, to a really big company like Nike or something like that. They keep 10% of it. So they get a $2 million sale. But if the company decides to renege on the sale, they decide that this software isn't for us, the person who made the sale has to give back the money too. So my friend was telling me that there are people that if they make a massive sale, they'll just quit that day, not even take the chance. Like they just made $1 million. They're like, because if they quit, the company can't come for them. It's in the legal contract that you can't give back the money once you've left the company. So it kind of, I guess at every level of sales, there's that similar fear where you may have to give back your compensation if the person decides to go back on their agreement. But then you could just be like, I just made $2 million. I'm getting the fuck out of here, and I'm good for. The next
would do
10
the same.
I'm good for the next 10 years at least. You could live, depending on where you're living. $2 million could be like 15 to 20 years. Right there, maybe like 15 years after taxes, and you're good.
No, it was the same system, and at first it seems very, very unfair because you just remember how hard it was to get that sale and everything, and 3 weeks later you got £30 less. Sometimes it was $60 or 90 pounds, sorry, and it seemed unfair. So like sales was really, really hard because every day I was talking to approximately 100 people, and every day you get rejected 97% of the time. People
Was
say
it
no.
legit? Was it legit door to door? Would you call? Were you actually walking from place
It's
to place, or what was it?
walking place to place. It's
Okay, so
sometimes
literal
it's
door to door
running.
sales.
Yes, sometimes it's even running from
Yeah.
one door to the other, because
Yeah.
sometimes you lack time and you need the money, so you just like run. But I gotta say, I was really impressed by the amount of skills some people had doing this. For example, the person that taught me sales, his name is Edgar, and the first 3 days I was with him, and he was teaching me sales, and he was very impressive. Like, I was really impressed because he was just talking to people, and 2 minutes later he was in their living room having a laugh with them, and just the people were happily signing for the donation, and giving even more than £10, sometimes 15, £20, depends. But I was really impressed by his skills, actually, and that's what made me want to stay in that company to learn those things, because I was really impressed.
What was he doing? What was he doing that you picked up on that was making him a good salesman?
He was faking interest, but so well. Honestly, he was faking interest. Like, at some point, I was shocked, because I was like, how dare he do such a thing? Like, it's evil. But at the same time, I was fascinated by this.
How do you know it was fake interest?
Because I knew like how he was, like his natural behavior. I know how he behaves usually. And when I saw him doing this, like, he was talking to me in some way, he was being normal. And sometimes, even before knocking at the door, he said, "Look how I'm going to get this sale." And he did. And that was fantastic. I was like, this guy's a genius, honestly. And
yeah.
I learned with him. So I feel very grateful for that.
So did you saw the movie Wolf of Wall Street, right? I'm guessing
Yes.
Every salesman has. So is there truth to that scene, that the iconic scene where Leonardo DiCaprio says, "Sell me this pen," and the guy says, "Well, I need your signature," and he says, "I don't have a pen," and so he's like, "Done. I'll sell you this pen, so you need it." Is there something true to that, where you have to create a need in the customer's mind that didn't exist before? Like, you have to make them feel like they need what you have?
Yes. Everything in the pitch you tell people is prepared and has been thought. Everything is prepared. When someone comes and knocks to your door, these people are prepared. The pitch, the intonation, everything has been repeated 100 times, so they know what they're doing. And like, for example, in the company I used to work in, when it was time to go outside and knock on people's door, we called that the field. And the field, like, the mentality is like, it's your territory. You must conquer the field, right? And to conquer the field, you have weapons, you have tools. So they teach you those things. For example, you have the fear of missing out. You have the urgency. You have plenty of techniques like this you can use to make people want to do it now. Because the point is not that they are interested in what you do and then they go on the internet and do it. The point is to get the sale now, because if they do it on the internet, you won't get paid. And what you want is to get paid and get promoted and have more money and have more influence, to learn management and that sort of thing. So it's like a pyramid scheme. And of course, they give you all the tools. The first week when I was training with Edgar, I was just learning from him. So in the morning, like, we had a big blackboard and he was writing everything, like all the theory, how it works. For example, there was this thing where during the day, 80%, like, you had the red customer, the green customer, the yellow customer, orange customer, yellow customer, like a red light. And like he said, in the field, 90% of people you're going to talk to are orange people. 5% will be green, 5% will be red. Meaning that 5% are going to be very rude. They're going to say like, fuck off, get out of here, bro. I don't want to see you. Goodbye. And it happened every day. You had also green people. Like, people that were happy to see you, or they knew the charity and they had a favorable opinion about this charity, so they were more inclined to give something. And you have most of the time orange people, like they don't know why you're here, or they are 50-50. Like they see you, they don't want to talk to you, but they kind of listening at the same time. So all of these things have a name, and it's a technique you learn. So yes, you go out there, you are prepared. So like, no, that like there's not the pen is just an example, but it's kind of true, because you actually learn those things, and then it's up to you to be creative with those and to use them properly to get the sale. Yeah.
Is there an example in your mind of someone who sticks out where you flipped a clearly orange person, someone who was on the fence, to green, and you eventually made the sale? I'm sure it happened a bunch of times. If you're paying rent, your lifestyle, your livelihood relies on it. Is there someone that sticks out in your mind that went from orange to green?
Yeah, plenty of times actually, because like you do your pitch, right? And at the end of your pitch, when you're closing the pitch, you have a sentence that's supposed to like reach an agreement. Like, of course you want to help kids, right? And you nod your head like this, and people are like, yeah, I want to help, right? And then you pull out your tablet and you want to fill a form, like their names, their address, and that sort of thing, and the donation they want to give. And many times you had people giving you objections, and different kinds. It could be, oh, I will do it later. I will do it online. Actually, I'm not interested. Or I give to many charities. And we also learn to overturn negatives like this. We also learn.
So if someone said, "Oh, like I already give to children's charities," or someone said, "Oh, like are you implying that I don't help people?" and someone gets defensive, if you say, "Don't you learn to help children?" they're like, "Fuck you, I help kids all the time."
No, you don't have to be that direct. It's always very smooth, and no, it's not that direct. Because I'm French, and many times people told me in England that I was rude, so I had to change my my tone of voice sometimes. But no,
this is a tangent. Just a quick note. The part of the reason why I get along with my girlfriend so well, not even the romance aspect, but just person to person, is because I value directness and I like things that are straightforward, and she's always straightforward. There's no kind of like there's an Americanized niceness that it's in, like the stereotypical California girl where they fake nice to you and then they'll talk shit to you behind your back. That doesn't exist in her. And I'm guessing that's something in France, like it's a common theme, because if you're saying it and she's also like that, then it must be a cultural thing.
You know what was worse? It's people that listen to you, but they listen just politely, like they have no intention to buy what you're selling, but they listen and they nod their heads all the way, and at the end it's just like, no thank you, I'm all right. That's me. This is worse.
That's me.
That's horrible.
We have a bunch so we have a bunch of people in Brooklyn, especially over the spring and summer when it's warmer out, that are walking on the street and they're selling similar things. A lot of it's environment, climate change causes, relief, things like that. And most of the time I just walk past. I have my headphones in a lot when I'm walking, so that always gives me an excuse to just not even turn my head, because I'm like, oh, I didn't hear them. But when I do stop, sometimes I'll just listen to the person, because I know they've been standing out there all day and probably get turned down all the time. And I know maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe I should just be like, listen, this isn't happening. Don't waste your time. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I'll listen. And then when it gets to the end of their spiel, then I will say something along the lines of, I don't make investment decisions on the spot, even if it's like $1 or $10,000. Like, I just have a rule for myself that I don't invest on the spot. I'll think about it and get back to you, and then maybe I'll Google it or look it up, or most of the time I just don't do shit. But the person you're describing, that's the worst. I've done that multiple times.
But like, if someone stops you in the street and tells you about something and you are genuinely curious, like, it's okay. It's the people that know already, even before you start talking, that they won't buy. It's these people,
Yeah.
because when you are outside and going door to door, you just want one thing. It's to not waste time. So from a door-to-door salesman perspective, it's better to have someone that just says fuck off. That's someone that listens to your full speech, 5 minutes of talking and energy for nothing.
Yeah.
Because in those 5 minutes, the door-to-door salesman can talk to 5 or 6 other people.
Yeah, people that have told me fuck off, and I've told people fuck off before. Not a lot, but, and I'm not talking about salesmen, just general situations in life. When you tell someone fuck off, it's not that you don't like them. You might even barely know them. You just value your own time. And in a way, saying fuck off is the nicest thing to do to someone, because you're also valuing their time, and you're saying, like, I value my time. This is going nowhere. And if they keep pushing it, you'd be like, listen, fuck off. Like, and then they feel hurt for a little bit. And then after that, they're just like, well, I mean, I wasted 10 seconds instead of 10 minutes. And you could have a really nice guy that listens to you. And at the end, he says, no, I agree. I would rather be told fuck off and waste a lot less time.
But like, I understand where this behavior comes from, because you want to be nice, and you say, oh, the poor door-to-door salesman, he needs someone to hear his speech, and I'm gonna be here. But no, in reality, you just want to go fast, and that's it. I mean, like, go fast. Sometimes I've met people, really interesting people, going door to door, and it was fantastic. Sometimes, like, I have very good stories. For example, it was in a big building. I go up, like, at the last floor, and I see a girl cooking, and I say, oh, so you're cooking meal for me already? And she just laughed, and we just started talking. She was Italian. And
you had sex on the spot, just right
not
there.
Not on the spot. It was the next Sunday.
The next Sunday, there you go.
Yeah, she invited me in, like, you want to eat with me? Then she brought wine and everything, and that was crazy. I have very good memories from.
So it's
this.
like a reverse porno, because usually in the porno, it's the guy that brings the food to the door. The girl orders delivery, and the guy shows up with a pizza, and it's like, did someone order pepperoni? But with you, she was cooking the food, and you drew yourself in with the prospect of the food. The reverse pornographic pull.
Well, I had to find a way in, and that's not metaphorical. And that was good, because at the end she actually bought she gave something to the NSPCC, and at the same time we got her number. So that was good. But I have very good memories. Also very weird memories as well. There's an area in London called Limehouse, and one day I was pitching there, and I just knocked on the door, and a guy opens up, and he had, like, no pants on. And he saw me, and he said, what do you want? And I was like, bro, it's all right, just drop it, like, it's not important.
And you said to him, are you cooking for me?
I didn't say that because he was Indian, and I don't really like Indian food, so I didn't ask him. And I think he was a bit deranged, because he started to chase me in the road, running after me, and people were looking at us, just running in the street. And at some point, he started
chasing you?
Yes,
with no pants.
With no pants, and people were looking at us, obviously. So I just turned left, and I like, you know, when you go out to pitch people, usually you go with groups of 2 or 3 people. And in the next street, there was another one of my co-workers named Ayo. And so I just turned left, and he sees me running and looks at me like, what are you doing? And then he sees the guy chasing me, and he was like, what the fuck, man? And at some point, this man stopped chasing me, and I think he went back home. I didn't check, of course. But yeah, there were some crazy stories with.
So you're saying, as a salesman, you should do some basic cardio training just in case?
Oh, you will do cardio anyways, because you need to be very quick, and you walk a lot, and at the end of the day, it's very likely that you will run from door to door. So you don't have to train. Like when you're doing it, you're doing it every day. So, but it can save your life. It's true.
Yeah, that's true. You got to have that quick twitch energy to run away from the Indian man with the paddle with no pants.
Sometimes it was dogs chasing you. Depends.
That would be scary as fuck to have. I'd rather an Indian man chase me with no pants than a dog, because a dog would catch me and possibly bite my cock off. Whereas an Indian man, if he caught up to me, he'd probably yell at me. He could
bite your cock off as well.
Could if he was deranged, as you say. There's a chance, but he wouldn't be as agile as the dog. The dog has bitten many things before. That Indian man probably doesn't get as many reps as the dog gets. So I'd be way more scared of the Indian guy.
That's very true. And I know many people that worked in sales with me in the same company, and especially girls, they were afraid of houses with dogs. And especially because we were working mostly in London, but sometimes we were doing road trips. So we went to other cities, Birmingham, Great Yarmouth, Hull City. And in the countryside, many people in England have dogs, but big dogs. And for some people, it was very scary. And I understand this. Like personally, I was not really scared because I run quite fast, to be honest. So I have a chance of survival. But for people with short legs, it's more difficult.
Yeah, you look like you have a runner's build. You got the long, like the lean build, aerodynamic. I'm more chunky. I'm built for more. I have more strength than speed. I'm not super strong, but I'm not fast at all.
Mm-hmm. No, when I was doing football, I was the fastest in the team. So you're right. Good observation.
So having done all of those having worked in sales, how long were you working in that role?
I've done sales 6 or 7 months, something like
that. So 6 or 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Not a career, but long enough to pick up on some things and build some useful skills.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what you do in life, you're gonna have to eventually sell something, whether it's your company or a product or a service or yourself in some cases, depending if rent gets tight. If you were going to tell someone Kevin's top rules for being a salesman, Kevin's guide to sales, and you had to say the top 2 things that you've taken away from that 6 or 7 month experience that you could say in a general way to help someone that has little to no sales experience, what 2 things would you tell that person?
To master the concepts they teach you, because they are very useful. And secondly,
like what?
It's to
like the stuff we talked about, or
yeah,
okay.
All of them are useful. All of them, from the introduction to the how do you write the pitch to working your intonation, is very important. Because sometimes I felt that people bought just because of my intonation at some point with a specific sentence. I felt at this point, okay, she made the decision at that moment because of this. So the concepts are very important. And the second one would be to sometimes dare, because when you work like this and when you have negative results, you start doubting yourself, which is normal. That's a normal reaction. And when you become afraid or when you have doubt, you don't dare to be yourself or to fully express yourself to the customer. And of course, everybody learns pretty much the same techniques, but every seller is different. So in order to sell, like for example, if you take the same street with the same people in it, 100 people, and you send me and 10 other salesmen, right? We won't sign the same people. We do have the same concepts, the same knowledge, but sometimes it's easier for us to build rapport with a specific person and not with another person. So it's very important at the same time to know the structures, the concepts, because they will help you along the way. But it's also important to be who you are and not try to play a role, because I found that this didn't work for me and for the people around me. And yes, because especially when you're learning, you go out at first with different salesmen, and you can see everyone has their own style, their unique style.
Yeah.
I worked with a girl, and she was very direct, very straightforward talking to people. Like, her pitch lasted like 1 minute 30, which is quite fast. And she was just like, you want to help her? Like, it was very yes or no, right? There's no in between. And she had good results as well, while my style was more about just cracking jokes, laughing, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And your style is different than another salesman's style. So it's important to have both.
Yeah, I feel like being quick would be better, because if you're in sales, you're basically a walking TikTok, because everyone's attention span is so short. And if someone shows up at your door unannounced and you're not interesting in the first 7 seconds, they're like, swipe, next one, swipe, swipe, swipe. So it seems like being quick would have its advantages, like
Yes,
getting to the point.
Time management is part of the things you learn as well when they teach you sales. They tell you, like, if you see someone that just doesn't want to buy, just say, cheers, mates, see you around, and move on. That's what they tell you, like, don't waste your time with someone. So it's part of the concept. Time management is part of it. So they teach you everything from A to Z.
As someone who's been sold on many things, you know, even things that I don't realize I'm being sold on, which is a conversation for another time with advertising. But I've been sold a few times by actual salespeople, and the product in a way becomes secondary.
Yes.
Because when I think back to the times where I've bought something from someone on the spot or signed up for something, it's because that person made me laugh, or it was a good conversation. Something about the conversation stuck out, and in my head, I thought, oh, this person made me laugh. I owe them the purchase. You know, they got me. Like, they did a good job, so I'm going to buy this fucking spatula or whatever it is, even though I don't need one, because I'm like, oh, that was a good conversation. They could have been selling literally anything, and if it wasn't too expensive, I might have just bought it just because that person clicked with me somehow. And there are other times where someone was slinging a good product or maybe something I needed, but the person turned me off, so I didn't buy it. Even if if I went outside looking for a new watch and someone was selling a watch that I wanted, but they were cringy or weird, something piece of shit, I wouldn't buy a watch, even though I need the watch. So it's like the person becomes the primary thing, that you're almost, I feel like I'm being sold on the person's personality more than I am on the product.
No, you are entirely correct with this. I never sold anything to someone that didn't like me. It never happened. And I'm quite sure that's the same thing for most salesmen.
I have a theory that you're actually still working for this sales company that you mentioned, the one where you're selling $10 memberships. And you go so deep in your sales game that you created an account on iTalki, and then you teach people French for 6 months. And then at the end of that 6 months, you convince that person to have you on their podcast. And then at the end of the podcast, you make a pitch on why you should purchase the membership. And then that person realizes they've been being sold the whole time.
It's mastermind, absolutely.
This is one big sale. It's one long sale.
Yes.
For $10.
It's true. Maybe not worth the time.
So how did these guys become millionaires if they're managing people that are selling $10 subscriptions? You would need to be managing thousands of people on a daily basis to become a millionaire with that.
What I know is that when in the pyramid scheme, of course, at the bottom, you have the door-to-door salesman, then you have the team leaders, which I was at the end because I got promoted at the end, but I was bad at recruiting people. So at the end, I just, it was very hard for me to keep doing the sales and at the same time focus on recruitment. So my sales dropped, and because my sales dropped, I had to leave because I was not earning enough money to pay the rent. That's because of this. But after team leaders, you have manager, just management, I think, where you learn accounting and things about law. And after you have campaign manager, where actually you are responsible for managing the whole campaign for an SPCC or for whatever charity that might be. And after this, what I know is that the owner of the company you work for helps you to create your company. Because at the start, there was this guy called Isham Muden, who was the boss of where I was working. And another guy called Michael was campaign manager, and Sham helped him to build his business. And while the money they make is from the sales, basically. They have people working under them, and like the NSPCC comes asking for help to sell, to have more donations, and they have some part of it, I guess, right?
Okay, it's a legitimate pyramid scheme. Like you're moving up, and then as you get promoted, you make money off of the people under you and the people you recruit, and then that's how you get off the street from sales. You get the salespeople under you.
Yes. Well, even when you were a team, like if you were a team leader, you would get some commissions from the people that you've recruited and trained.
Yeah, we had a couple companies like that in Richmond. There's one main pyramid scheme company that would basically help you set up your own product website, and you would sell products on a website, and the people above you would make a percentage if they recruited you. And this is in Richmond, Virginia. And my friend had gotten swindled into a meeting to go to this company 2 or 3 times, and they would always ask to meet at the same place. It was the Doubletree Hotel in Richmond. And one of the things that would happen that we started to pick up on, because we had other friends approach, like we would be out in the wild. We would be at Nordstrom Rack, a clothing store, and someone would approach us and just start chatting, and then he would say something incredibly deep and straightforward, like, "Are you happy with your life?" And we're just like, "What? We just met you 45 seconds ago." And he's just like, "Well, what do you do? You know, I could help you do." And that's kind of the approach that these guys would use, and girls, because they were both. And they stopped saying the name of the company, because we would always say, "Who do you work for?" And it was funny because the company had gotten a reputation in Richmond and then around the US, because I believe it's a national company. They had a reputation for this kind of pyramid Ponzi scheme thing. And so there were a few times where I would say, "Who do you like?" "Yeah, sure. What do you do?" And they would say, "Oh, I work in sales, or I work in product management." And I would say, "Yeah, for who?" And they would say, "Oh, you know, we have a bunch of clients." And I kept saying, like, who, like, who's your fucking boss? Who's on your paycheck? And they would never say it. And I came across this blog post where someone had published this entire thing that got tricked into joining the company, spent like 7 years working for this company. They made you buy all of these presentations and books and material. So this person ended up losing like $20,000 or something, because they get you to join, and then they say, "Well, you have to buy this to learn how to sell it." And one of the rules that was in the blog post was that never tell the person who you work for. Get them to the meeting first, because it was this, you know, this guy who was super personable, kind of the what do you call it? The picturesque meeting of a guy in a hotel conference room with hundreds of people unhappy with their lives, looking to get them under him, get them selling stuff. Like it was that was this exactly what it was. And you weren't supposed to say with the name of the company. You were just supposed to get them to the Doubletree. And I was just reading this blog post, and I'm like, this is to a T what these people were doing when I was in college, just approaching people in public, you know, asking them if they're happy, all this stuff. It was literally like a formula.
Yes, I'm not surprised that that exists, but fortunately, I was not working in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it could be it was suspicious for some people. Nobody asked me like, who do you work for? Like, it happened. Yes, it happened, but it was quite rare, if I'm honest. But sometimes we were, like, I was mistaken for a thief sometimes because someone called the police because they thought we were trying to, like, see some house and steal something. And then the police came and asked me and my coworkers to show who, like, they asked, who do you work for? And we had to call our boss, and he explained it to the police, and the police said, oh, okay, no problem. So, no big deal.
So, how did you get involved with cryptocurrency? What was your introduction into the world of crypto? Because we've spoken multiple times at the end of lessons about trading in crypto and starting a company and things like that. So what was your intro to cryptocurrency?
A friend of mine in 2017 or 16, 17. I don't really know how he talked to it, like how he introduced that to me. He just talked about Ethereum, and I was like, I don't know this. And because I'm quite curious, I Googled it and got into it. And then when you find something interesting, you just want to have more information about this. So YouTube videos, blogs, articles, and everything. And yeah, at the end, I just thought, okay, that might be a good opportunity to make some money. And it worked. So, like, there's not much to say about this. It was very straightforward. If he hadn't talked to me about this, I think I would have learned about cryptocurrencies probably in 2020 or somewhere around there, but not before.
So your friend introduced you to Ethereum, and then you invested in Ethereum around 2017 or something like that?
Yeah, like the price was $30 at that moment. Today it's
$3?
No, 30.
$30.
Yeah, $30 in Ethereum. Today I think it's $2,400, something like this.
Oh, that's crazy. So you got in good.
Yes, at the right time. That's why I'm thankful for this. But as I said, if he didn't talk to me about this, I would have gotten into it in way too late. Maybe not too late, but I don't think it's too late, but it's not the best entry, I would say. But there's always money to make. As long as there is variation and fluctuation in prices, you can always make money. But now it's more risky, I think.
Yeah. I got into Bitcoin 2 years ago, so not early at all. I think it was still like 20,000 or something, like 25,000 maybe when I bought into it. And the way that I was going about it, my approach was, do I think Bitcoin is going to be significantly higher than it is 10 years from now? And I did a bunch of research. I read a couple of books. I listened to this guy, Robert Breedlove, on the Lex Friedman podcast, and read his book and listened to as many people as I could the weeks, making a decision. Okay, am I gonna make a significant investment in Bitcoin? And I just kind of approached it like all the other ways that I invested in stocks and ETFs, where I'm not looking to trade this and flip it. I'm looking to hold it for a very long period of time. Was that your mentality going into Ethereum? Were you trying to invest long term? Were you trying to flip it? Like, what was going through your head when you made that initial investment?
The point was to grab money where it was, and I think it was a good opportunity. Then, of course, there's the idea of long term, because when you start investing and you see you're getting money, you start thinking long term. Okay, where is this heading? Actually, is this a long term investment? Is it short term? Is it right? So over time, I adapted my strategy, because afterwards in 2020, I started to learn trading. So it allowed me to do two things. The first one, it's to have a long-term scenario where the cryptocurrencies are going to blow up and the prices are going to rise. And that's where I do investments. For example, I see a cryptocurrency that has a lot of scalability, and I do some research on it to see if the project is quite serious, if they have good investments and everything about the company, the currency, and sometimes the company behind it. And if it's scalable enough, I just start to accumulate as many as I can for this crypto. Usually I choose 2 or 3 cryptos like this, not more. And the other things, it's when I learn how to trade, I do this more like on a weekly basis or even daily basis sometimes. Because now I know the patterns, how they look like, and also money management is very important when you learn how to trade, because people see all the trend lines and everything and clouds and things everywhere. It seems very fuzzy, but money management is actually one of the most important thing when it comes to trading, in my opinion. And so when I see a good opportunity in short term or even mid term, but usually it's more short term, I use what I know about trading to get money as well. So like my goal is to have money entries regularly, monthly, or even weekly, if it's possible. And also at the same time to accumulate enough of some specific cryptos that will bring more money in the long run. But that's kind of a bet, right? This one, it's kind of a bet, but because I think it's gonna start to rise. But like, I'm not taking many risks, because since I was early in crypto, right, for me to lose money, the price should drop very, very low compared to my initial investment. So I've already made money with it, so I'm happy with it. Of course, now the goal is to continue to do this, to get more. But like overall, at the end, if I need to draw a conclusion, it's going to be very difficult for me to say I lost money, because the price was very low.
You got in so early.
Yes.
So you have it split up between long term, and you said you're trading things on a weekly basis or every 3 days, something like that. You have a rotating list. It
depends on the opportunities that I see. If there is no opportunities, I don't trade. If there is one, I take it.
So I don't know anything about day trading or weekly trading and following patterns and things like that. I've only done the long-term hold in things that are reliable stocks or things. I basically just ask myself, is this going to be, higher in 10 years, higher in 20 years? Is it a valuable company? Okay, put money in, keep putting money in every 2 weeks, but I'm not trying to trade it. So when you're trading something every few days or every week, is there a general way that you explain the patterns to people? Someone that knows nothing about crypto day trading, what are you looking for when you look at patterns from a very high level? What are you trying to see?
What you try to see is the probability, because each pattern has a probability of breaking up or breaking down. So it depends. So for this, you have different kind of tools you can use to assess the best way you can what probability it has. So every trade is kind of a bet, because you're not 100% sure that the price is going to go up or that the price is going to go down. You don't know this. You don't know the future. The point is not trying to predict the future. The point is to make an objective, if it's possible to be always objective, but an objective analysis of where the price is right now, in what range, where is the price now. And if I take into account the pattern that I see, and this pattern means that you have a 80% probability of breaking up this pattern, then the price is likely to go up. But then that's where money management, it's always important, because you can have a pattern where you have 80% of probability to make money, but the pattern goes the other way. So you also must learn how to protect yourself, protect your trade, because one of the things you learn when you start trading, it's you won't win 100% of the trade. That's not possible. So what you will earn at the end, it's the money you saved by putting a stop loss. A stop loss is basically a limit. For example, a price is at 10 and you think the price is going to go up, and you can put a limit like, if the price goes to 9.5, then I will sell. So you can limit your losses that way. So it's really important to use those tools, know how to use them properly, and that's it. But people need to understand some very general concepts first about this and to train before. For example, you have some platforms that can allow you to trade with virtual money. They give you like $10,000 and they say, go train and test things, try techniques, try some patterns, apply them for real and see if it works. Because I would not tell people to just start right away if they've seen like 10 YouTube videos, because you will lose money. Let's face it, you will lose money. So it needs training first. But it's like everything. The more you train, the more you start seeing the patterns. If you know the patterns, then you know like how it's likely to unfold, and you can basically have a plan for the trade. You can say, okay, if this scenario happens, I'm going to do this. If this scenario happens, I'm going to do that, and blah, blah, blah. So it's always about adaptation and just being very cold and rational when you want to analyze things. Because many times I see people like they have, for example, they love a crypto and they always want to buy more, but they don't see like on the chart, there's something that shows that the price is likely to go down. And they're in just blind faith. It's like, yes, the price is going to go up, so I'm just going to buy more and more and more. And that's how you end up losing money, because you're...
Yeah, it's like, it seems like crypto, there's such a large emotional tie between the coins and the people. With Dogecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, people build careers and people make content based off of tying their reputation to a coin or tying their emotions to a coin. And if you are emotionally invested in something like a digital asset, it's almost like a relationship where you're emotionally invested in a person and you overlook their red flags, and the emotional investment blinds you to the red flags, whereas your friends see it, which is why a lot of times the person who's in the relationship is the last person to see how toxic it is, because everyone else is looking at it with a more objective view. So it sounds like it's something similar, where if you let your emotions get the better of you, you're going to miss digital markers or patterns that would otherwise show that it's going to go up or down.
Mm-hmm. Well, blind faith is very dangerous. It can bring you to misery quite easily. And I've seen that scenario repeated many times. It's so like when you're trading, the point is just to see clearly, like rationally, what's going on and what are the possible scenarios. That's pretty much it. Where do I find my entry point? Where do I get out?
So would it be worth it for, let's say, I'll just use myself as an example. I have maybe 4 to 5 hours a week that I could dedicate towards something like a hobby or a craft outside of my job and podcasting, and learning French is part of that. If I only had 4 to 5 hours a week, maybe 45 minutes a day, is this something that I could learn, or should I just not bother and stick to traditional investments?
Well, it depends. If the goal is to make money, you have different strategies you can have. You can decide to do this. It works. It works for me. It works for other people. So yes, you can invest 4 or 5 hours a week learning this. It's possible. It will take a few months, maybe a year to get it right and to start actually making some money, because the first couple of months you're going to lose money. It's very likely. Even after 5 or 6 months, it's still possible. But it's difficult to say. How much would you say? It's difficult to say.
How much would?
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to say, how much of an investment would you advise someone to have at the start for it to be worth it? Because you obviously want room to lose money. You don't want to start with $100 and then you're gone. It's like, well, I can't learn from my mistakes now because I didn't have enough. What would be a good investment strategy with your style, or a good investment amount to start with your style of trading?
Well, firstly, don't invest money you cannot afford to lose. That's the rule number 1. And secondly, don't trade with your real money at first. Trade with virtual money. And as I said before, you have platforms like this that give you virtual money to trade. And once you see that weekly or monthly you're in positive, meaning that you actually earn money and you are capable of doing that regularly, then it's a good sign. It means you have understood the patterns, you understood how to understand how the price is moving within a certain range, and you can you have a good money management strategy as well. But other than this, like that's the basics. Because sometimes people go on the trading platforms, they trade a little bit, they see, oh yeah, I can actually make money, but they don't do that for a long period of time, and then they invest the real money and they end up losing the money. Because trading, it's like a shark thing. It's everybody wants to take a bite of it. So you're in competition with traders all the time. You have to know this. And they don't give presents easily. Like sometimes you have opportunities, clear opportunities that one must take. Like it's like a river. Like trading is like a river, and you see a fish at some point, you must grab the fish right now, because if it's too late, it's gone. If it's too early, it's not there. And when you see the opportunity, one must take it. But yes, and I would say also to grab as many information as possible. But that's true for many crafts or many things you want to do. It's to grab more information. For trading, I have a couple people that I follow. And that's it. Because sometimes you can have people saying, no, I think the price is going down because of this. And someone else saying, oh, the price is going up because of this. And you can have contradictory opinions. So it's very important to develop your own strategy, I would say. But also have a couple people you can compare it to see if you haven't missed any side to this, to the chart, or if there's an angle you haven't seen before. So it's always interesting. You always must be learning. It's true for languages, but also for trading, for everything. You always stay humble and be in a mindset where, okay, I know this, but maybe there's something I don't know, to try to develop and learn more things. That makes you more efficient in the end. So, yeah.
So is everything based on past situations? So you see a pattern, and the statistical probability is based on, okay, this pattern occurred 1,000 times before, and 650 times this happened. Is that what it's like? You're using past situations and generating a probability, and then betting based on that probability?
Well, the probabilities already exist. You have websites with every pattern and with the probability for each pattern. So this already exists. There are already people doing this. And about me, yes, when I'm trading, it's always about past experiences, what I've seen before. Yes, I've seen this before, and how did it go? It went that way, so I have to be cautious there because I got trapped here. There was a bull trap, and blah blah blah. So yes, it's always based on past experiences, always, all the time.
Oh, okay. So I've heard people compare, and you might have said this to me already, but I've heard people compare day trading, even with fiat currency, but it seems like it would apply to crypto. They compare it to gambling or betting.
No.
Betting money in a casino. Like you're betting based on probabilities. But this is what I wanted to say, and then you can respond however you want. I could be totally wrong, because I just have a general understanding of gambling on a few different games. I have no understanding other than what you're telling me right now on crypto short-term trading. But in gambling in a casino, let's say a game like blackjack, you are betting on statistical probabilities of what's available in the deck, what cards other people may have, what cards that are still in play with the dealer, and the behavior, your outcome of a certain card hitting the deck is in almost all situations not based on the behavior of other people. So someone could decide to hit the card next to you. They could ask for cards more than a smart player would, and maybe that would affect the cards available in the deck. But if you're playing a game, let's say one-on-one with a dealer, and you're really fucking pissed off for some reason, or you're dealing with, an irrational dealer, or something happened in the market, that doesn't affect the card that gets pulled. You're going to get a 7 of diamonds no matter what. If that was the next card, there's no way around it. If the dealer said hit, he would get that card. If you said hit, you would get that card. If the person next to you decided to hit, you get the 7 of diamonds. In trading, in the market, you have the behavior of other people that gets all conglomerated into one mishmash and generated out into a number, which is the value of the coin or the value of the stock. And people's emotions come into play. They patterns happen, but it's not just based on what's available in the deck. It's not just based on the numbers that are available for the currency to peak at or to drop to. So how can you, I guess what I'm asking is, how can you have a reliable way to invest in something like a cryptocurrency or fiat currency, a stock, on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis when you're also dealing with irrational and unpredictable emotions?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing, it's, as I said before, money management. So when you make a decision to trade, you must also think about protecting yourself of that kind of thing that can possibly happen. Because yes, it's true, you can have a big crash, people selling all at the same time for some reason. So yes, so money management, it's very useful for this, and putting stop limits and take profits as well, because the price can change very, very quickly. When it comes to predicting that sort of thing, like in trading, you have two main things. You could say you have fundamental analysis and something we call chartism or technical analysis. Fundamental analysis is basically seeing the news that are coming out about Bitcoin or about whatever cryptocurrency and trying to see what kind of effect it might have in the future on the price and that sort of thing. I don't do fundamental analysis. I only do chartism. Because the reason for this, it's because most of the time on the chart, you can see that there is a drop that's likely to happen. It's visible on the chart. For example, you have some kind of levels, and if the price closes below that level, you know that it's very likely that the price will drop, and a lot sometimes. So you can take advantage of that. So for me, it's more reliable to just see the chart, even though it's not 100% reliable, but the patterns usually are right. And as I said, sometimes you cannot be right. You cannot be right all the time in trading. It's not possible. Because sometimes the market just does what it wants. Sometimes it goes below that level and reintegrates the previous pattern. And you cannot predict that. It's very hard to predict sometimes. So the money you earn sometimes, it's not about winning every trade. It's about winning the good ones and also preventing not allowing the situation where the price would drop too much that at the end of the month, it would lower your income. So it's doing both, right? It's doing like when you see the pattern, the probability, it's taking this opportunity, but also, that's where the traders lose money sometimes, right? And if every pattern is not 100% reliable, it's because of this, because there is some irrationality out there happening. And that's where the margin of error is. But you can limit the money you lose if you manage your money well and say, okay, this pattern has a 60% chance of going up and 40% of going down. So here you have good probability of earning money, but also a big one of losing money. So it's your responsibility to be aware of the risk you're taking, because trading, it's about risk, but it's about managing risk properly.
So let's say you taught me what you know about charting, because that's what you do, the charting, as opposed to the fundamental investing. Mm-hmm. Let's say you taught me twice a week for an hour about your technique to invest in crypto. How many weeks would you say it would take for me to become serviceable at investing to the point where you would feel comfortable telling me to use real money? If you put in 2 hours a week.
I don't know, because I haven't taught that to anyone. So I don't know. But I would say, just like this, if I have to give you an answer, absolutely, I would say at least 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll record a podcast in another 9 months and see how I'm doing. But no, it's interesting. I've like I said, I've invested in Bitcoin. I haven't attempted to trade short term anything, and it's fascinating, obviously, because you make money, but money is also freedom. So if I did have a few extra hours per week to dedicate towards something that could bring me more freedom and allow me more flexibility with podcasting and equipment and studios and things like that, it does seem enticing. And also everyone's different. For me, I would worry about becoming obsessed with it because, I'm not very good at not becoming obsessed with things that I like. Like I love podcasting and am obsessed with that. And that takes up a large chunk of my time. So I would worry that I would get into trading crypto short term and then not be able to cap it at, okay, I've been, this is my time slot for the week. If I want to continue to do podcasting, I got to cut it off now.
No, but it's possible to earn a lot of money with trading, but also to lose money very quickly. And it happened to me because I thought I was ready to trade and I started to do it. And I've lost like 7K in 1 week. It happened to me. To lose 7K 1 week. It's gone. Doesn't come back. Because I was not ready. It was too much self-confidence, I think, and not enough practice. That's why I'm saying at least 7 and 8 months, at least.
Okay.
Because
so if you have self-control and you're willing to wait until you become really good with fake money, that you would feel more comfortable telling that person, okay, you can use real money now if you were teaching them.
You must be like a robot. Like when you open the trading app, you must have no emotion, no hope, no nothing, no fear. It's just seeing things how they are and making a decision.
That's how I feel every day when I wake up.
Then
just no hope, no fear.
You would be perfect for trading then.
I have been told that I don't have a high range of emotions. I don't have a wide range of emotions, I should say. So maybe I would be good at that. But I'm definitely going to learn more about it. I'm definitely after this conversation, I'm sure we'll talk more about it. And didn't you say you have a company that helps people invest, or a company of some sort that has to do with cryptocurrency?
No. Basically, right now the money I get from crypto. It's on a platform called Binance, which is a very popular one for trading and buying, selling crypto. And I don't want to cash out the money. Because if I do, then the government is going to say, hey, bro, you need to pay some taxes on this. And I don't want that. So in the future, because I live in France, but I'm Portuguese, maybe I will go to Portugal and open a bank account there, because there, if you cash out the money there, you don't have to pay any taxes on cryptocurrencies. So maybe when I'll get there, I will do this. But for now, I don't touch it, which is a bit frustrating because I earn the money, but I cannot really touch it because I don't want to. I think it's very unfair because when you invest the money and you lose the money, the government doesn't come and say, hey, you lost money, we're going to give you 20% of what you've lost. But when you earn the money, they're like, oh, okay. Now we need to take. Yeah,
so it's a one-way thing. The government takes credit for everything you win and nothing you lose. Yes. If you lose your job, it's your fault. If you lose your job, it's 100% your fault. If you invest and make $100,000, it's 40% of the government's fault. And they're like, "Thank you." So it doesn't work. If I lose 100K, the government should pay 40 of that.
That's what I'm saying. Like people are trying to protect themselves. Like people that earn money in crypto are trying to protect themselves from the government's greediness. But it's not always possible. But in my case, it is. So I will take advantage of that. Trust me.
That I think the government may make more money on taxes if they offered to cover losses, because they could say if you don't pay your taxes, you will not get your losses covered. And if you pay your taxes, whatever you owe, and you lose, whatever it is, $100,000. Most people aren't going to lose that amount of money, but if they knew that 30-40% of it, at least some percentage of it's going to get covered, every single person would pay their taxes. The IRS could dissolve because, people, the IRS couldn't dissolve, but because people would still try to scam the system, but no one would want to not pay their taxes, because why wouldn't you want to get your losses covered partially the next year if you happen to lose your company or lose your job, whatever. So yeah, now that you're saying it does seem like a very backward system, that taxing only works for the government and it never works for the taxpayer.
Yes, but you should say that to Uncle Joe. Not
I should.
me. Like,
what if I just patched him in right now to join from the Oval Office? That would be sick.
Yeah, that would be sick. And I would support that. But and many people would, I guess. Yeah, maybe you can start something with this. Yeah,
like more taxes, but from the government side. So I want more taxes. If Kamala Harris is going to get up there after Joe Biden passes away from a sneeze and tries to take 60% of my money, I want to say, okay, if you're going to take 60% of my income, then you're going to cover 60% of my losses. And then I might consider it.
Look, Zach, that seems fair to me, but it's not me you need to convince.
Well, one day when you're the president of Portugal and I'm living in Lisbon, this could apply.
Yes, but right now, as I said, in Portugal, it's 0%, no tax about crypto.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's already
so
good.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the financial restrictions on or the financial restrictions right now on Russia and the invasion of Ukraine, because I was reading to prepare for this podcast a lot about people donating Bitcoin and Ethereum and getting it to people in Ukraine, whereas and people in Russia also being able to trade in cryptocurrency, because as everyone probably knows, Russia basically doesn't financially exist to the rest of the world right now. But with cryptocurrency, it's much harder to regulate and know where it's coming from. And that's actually been a savior for a lot of people in Russia and a lot of people in Ukraine.
Yes, and I've talked to this last Sunday to one of my Russian students, and she didn't know about this, and she said, "Oh, great, I'm gonna look into it." So yeah, it's also that's also true for people in some poor countries. I'm thinking about Venezuela because I know some Venezuelan people here in France, and they told me that they now use some cryptocurrencies to help people there. So. Yeah. If cryptos can help in some way or another, that's definitely a good thing. But they're always trying to control it in some way or another. Not sure they will succeed, though. They've been trying for a long time, and it's not been very successful so far.
Yeah, there's an article in Computer World that goes into the adoption of cryptocurrency and how it's helping people right now with the Russia-Ukraine invasion. And it says that there are close to 2 million Ukrainians that have fled into Europe and other countries, and they had to do so quite rapidly. Think about a middle-class family. You probably have some stocks and own a house or part of a house. You can't bring any of that with you. Ukraine is the 4th most crypto-friendly country in the world in terms of per capita ownership. So those who fled probably were able to take advantage of an asset that could just go with them. Ukraine is also a huge technology center and a country where local currency has a history of devaluation and collapsing. The other reason is that the government wants to use crypto to raise money for the war against Russia. Traditionally, that's been done through bond schemes or government-to-government transfers. Now, through Bitcoin, anyone from anywhere can donate to the Ukrainian cause. So it was a nice article that goes into how cryptocurrency... if this invasion happened 20 years ago, people would have been way more fucked without crypto than they are now, because it's much harder to track. You don't have to have physical money, and it's the blockchain and getting it to people, and it's been a huge help. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, all you need in crypto is an address to send the money to. Then it's done. It's nothing else.
Yeah.
I saw some people trying to help, or I don't know if it was about Ukraine or something else. I think it was about something else, but they used a crowdfunding website, and because the website didn't agree with the reason why they were raising money, they actually shut it down. And when that happens, well, what options do you have? Well, here's an example.
Yeah.
You just need an address to send it to, and it's done.
Was that the Canadian truckers protest?
I think so. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'd seen an article about that. Yeah, I believe there was almost there was over $10 million raised for the Canadian truckers protests, and GoFundMe took a stance that, you know, we don't agree with that cause, and we're not going to let people raise money for it, and people turn to crypto, which is fucked up, because if you're a platform for raising money, your political ideology shouldn't control who you can't raise money for.
Well, yes, but we do not decide this, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like maybe if I was the owner of this, maybe there were some things that I wouldn't allow on the platform. Maybe because I don't agree with them, but maybe I wouldn't as well. I don't know. I'm not at that place right now. But
what do you think about the long-term future of cryptocurrency? Because a lot of people think that the whales of cryptocurrency, so there are a few people that own a very large amount of each of the top cryptocurrencies, and those people likely have a plan to get out, and the rest of the people who own cryptocurrency will essentially be fools. And there are people that think that, you know, anyone who's already made money in crypto is out. It's just like the world is hanging on to this fad. What do you think about that view, and do you think that it is accurate?
I think when some people are earning money, other people are losing money. So of course, it's always risky, and it's your objective to be on the good side of the story. It depends on you and how smart you are and how careful you are to do those things. It's always normal that like we have a tendency towards centralization. People always want to have more of something and control more of something. It's always the way it works. It's always about centralization, which is a bit paradoxical, because the blockchain technology, it's about decentralization, and to see that you have big whales with a lot in a system that's decentralized, that's a bit paradoxical. But how it will unfold, I have no clue, if I'm honest, Zach. I have no idea. But
are you a whale?
Am I what? A whale?
Are you a whale? Are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
I cannot answer this question, but if you trust your intuition, you will know the answer. Okay. But like, it depends. Like, how many of one crypto do I need to be a whale? Do I need to own 10% of all the crypto?
I wouldn't say 10%. I mean, you know, that it's not just cryptocurrency where a very small number of people own a majority of the assets. That happens with any currency. That happens with any capitalistic society, where there's going to be the people at the very top, the top 1%, top 0.1%, that may own 90% of the assets. So it may be a flaw in cryptocurrency, but it's also a flaw in every other form of trade that's ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the? No, just thinking out loud.
Okay.
So what do you think about the? Here's the question. What do you think about the notion that cryptocurrency is giving a platform to illegal trade, drugs, dark money transactions? That you know, it's being mostly used for shitty things and dark people doing dark things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's I think it was convenient at the beginning. I mean, it still is for that sort of activity at first. But it has the reputation of what people actually do with it. And if one day it becomes more popular, people would just do normal things with it. So that reputation of it's dark, it's dirty, will eventually go away. But it's the same thing with real money. You have people cheating with fiat money, how we call it, and people doing illegal things with real money as well. So yes, I think it has this reputation for a good reason. Because people were using it for shady things. But if there is a mass adoption someday, this reputation will vanish, because like most people would use it in a normal way, not for criminal activities. Like we have terrorism today, we have all sorts of bad things happening, and it was happening before cryptocurrencies. So thinking that crypto is responsible for that, it's no.
Yeah, I mean that's I'm going through a couple of things now that people have said are their concerns about cryptocurrency, like it's being used for dark money and bad transactions. But you're right, that's something that's been used. That's something that happens with fiat currency all the time. No one ever says that. Like, how many billions and trillions of dollars of the US dollar go towards drugs or illegal weapons dealing or sex trafficking, all this shit. So I don't think it's that cryptocurrency is providing opportunities for a disproportionate amount of dark money transactions. Any currency is going to do that. And it's not a reason to stop the adoption of a currency because a very small percentage of people are going to use it for shitty purposes.
Yes, but also I would say like criminals are always trying to look for an escape route. So they're always in advance for something. And if at the end cryptos becomes useless for them, they will find another way. It's the cat and the dog, right? Like the criminals and the government. Yeah. So they always try to find a way. If today it's crypto, tomorrow it will be something else, and after tomorrow it will be something else again. It's a never-ending thing. That's not the problem is not crypto in itself.
So if the cryptocurrency economy were to collapse 10 years from now, what do you think the reason may be? What are your concerns, your biggest concerns about crypto right now that you could see turning into a major problem in the future?
If in some way some states have control over it, I think that would be the end of it, because like, why would you use cryptos if the main asset, if the main advantage is gone, right? Just go back to what you used to use before. So that would be one thing. For crypto to be massively adopted, you'd need governments to find kind of a compromise with it. But that's the question. How is it going to be? To what extent would you agree the government to interfere with this? Is it even possible for governments to interfere with this? The role of governments, I think, would be important in that. And or maybe, I don't know, other reasons. That's the main one. When I check Twitter or just some articles, it's always this thing that comes back. It's the role of governments. China said this, and the US said that, and Germany said this. It's always about governments. And when there's a good news or bad news, it's always the same thing. People are hyped or depressed because. So yes, it has a huge impact on the price. So if it had to collapse, I would say that would be the number one reason. But maybe there's another one that I don't know.
Okay, let's take a break. I'm gonna go take a piss and pour some more coffee, and then we'll come back because I want to ask you about some more stuff. I wanted to ask you about something that you mentioned to me at the end of a lesson 2 times ago. You mentioned that you spent some time in the pickup artist game, the pickup artist way of life. When was this in your life, and what drew you to pick up artistry?
Pain. If that's the short answer, it's pain.
And it's
Pain.
feeling pain and then wanting to inflict it on others.
No, it was pain and shame, a mix of both, basically. Yes, what drew me to that? I would say pain mostly. Well, I would say it began when I was in high school. There was a girl that I found really very, very cute and pretty. And she was always smiling at me and making big signs to say, hey, come and talk to me. And I waited and waited and waited to find the courage to go and talk to her, and I couldn't. So the day I left the high school, because it was time to go to Lyon to a new university, when I went back home, I cried, and I cried because of shame. And I cried because I thought, I'm a coward. And that must change. That's not possible. And basically, in my mind, I had a choice to make. Or I decided to change right away because it was not possible to endure this longer. Or I decided to stay comfortable and do nothing and just hope that the wind and time would change that kind of behavior. So I took the first option. So I went on an online forum on a website, a French website called Art de Séduire, so the art of seduction. And I posted something there saying, guys, I'm coming to Lyon in September, and I would like to meet people from there to learn how to pick up girls in the street and to be less shy and to have more courage.
So this was a cold message. You never didn't know any guys in this group. You just said, I'm going to be in Lyon.
No. I knew from like online posts and messages and that sort of thing, but I didn't know them personally.
So you were hurt, you were a little bit heartbroken, and you just dove right into the message board.
It was not even, I was not even heartbroken. I was like very disappointed in myself. Very disappointed.
Like you felt manipulated? Did you feel like you fell for something?
No, I was just feeling terrible about myself, about the fact that I didn't have the courage to actually just go and talk to her. That was the main thing. And I just thought, okay, if tomorrow there's a girl you like, what are you going to do? Are you just going to stay there and just hope things happen? No, you must do something, have the courage to do something. So yes, I posted the message on the forum, and someone replied to me and said, hey, I saw your message. When you arrive in Lyon, just call me. So he left his telephone number. And when I arrived in Lyon, I called him and he said, okay, you want to go out now and start practicing? And I said, yeah, okay, let's go. So I met this guy at Place Bellecour in Lyon, which is the main central place in Lyon. And I met this guy. So he was shorter than me, way shorter than me. But he got some kind of charisma, right? So that made it very easy for me to trust this guy. And it seemed like he knew what he was talking about. And he would be a good salesman. He would be a very good salesman. And he actually was studying sales. So yes, everything is connected.
So
yes.
the two are connected, sales and pickup.
Yes. In many ways, actually.
Okay.
And so he saw immediately that I was not comfortable enough to just go and talk to a girl, like in the street. He saw that I was terrified, like genuinely, I was terrified. It was the most horrible thing and stressful time of my life doing this. And so he saw I was scared to do this, so he challenged me to do something else, like wave at people in the bus, or just stay on the floor for 10 seconds, or do 5 push-ups, that sort of thing. And step by step, I became like more, okay, yeah, that's not too bad, okay, it's okay. And at some point he said to me, you see that old lady there? He said, go in front of her and go on your knees and ask her for marriage. And I was a bit hesitating, but I was like, okay, she's old, so if she says no, it's okay. Right? If she laughs, it's okay. So I still had this fear inside of me of, I'm going to get rejected, but it's not that bad. So it was okay. So I think he was just doing the right thing. Like the graduation was the correct one. It was step by step, harder and harder. And so I went to see this lady, and I asked her, like, do you want to marry me? And she just laughed. And she said, oh, you're such a funny young man. Right? She said, you're such a funny young man. And after this, I was quite comfortable because I was feeling, okay, it's not that bad to do those things. And then it was the time. So I was walking with this guy, and he says, I'm going to count to 3.
How long?
And at 3...
How long, when you were walking, when you said it was the time, how long had you spent with this guy when you got to Lyon up until that point?
An hour, maybe a little bit more.
Okay, so this all happened pretty quickly.
Yeah. And after an hour, he said, look, I'm going to count to 3. And at 3, you're just going to go talk to the first girl you see on your left. But like, he was not counting like 1, 2, so I could anticipate. No, it was just like 1, 2, 3, right? At some point, so we were just talking. And in the middle of conversation, he said 1, 2, 3. And I didn't know how I did it, but I just did, because I think it was the confidence of doing things before. It gave me more confidence. So I was like, okay, let's go. And I go talk to this girl, and I remember her perfectly. She was an Algerian with blonde hair and blue eyes, and a very beautiful girl. And she was with a group of friends. And I go talk to her, and I'm like, you're right, blah, blah, blah. And I go with her, like I'm walking with her, and I see that her friends are looking at me like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Is it real? But I still carried on, and after a minute or two, I just said to her, look, I have to leave because otherwise my friends are gonna leave, and I must join them again. But if you want, we can talk to each other someday. And she said, yeah, okay. So she just gave me her number, and I swear I was very happy. I was very happy. So when I went back to see my mentor, I could say, I was like jumping, man, everywhere. It was the best day of my life. So even he was surprised, he said, because he thought like I wouldn't get the number. That's what he thought initially. I wouldn't get the number. And even I thought I wouldn't get the number. But I don't know how it happened, but I got it. So I was very happy. And after this, so we carried on doing the same thing, just going out, and the same day we were walking in the streets of Lyon, and at some point he said, okay, go talk to the first girl you see now. And there was a girl on the phone, and I go talk to her, and she says, fuck off, like don't bother me, man, like I'm too busy.
Like that guy saying fuck off in sales.
Exactly. That's the fuck off in the street by a hot girl. That's even worse.
Yeah, fuck up, bro.
And yeah, fuck up, bro. I'm not interested. Move on, man. And at that moment, I felt broken, like literally, because it was such a hard rejection for me that I was like paralyzed, kind of like I was feeling the pain physically, even though she didn't punch me, but I was feeling the pain almost physically. And I just stopped for like 15 minutes or 20 minutes to think about this. And at some point I thought, okay, it's not that bad, is it? Right? It's not that bad. It's not terrible, right? Yes, I got rejected, but it's okay. Because the whole day I talked to many girls, and most of the time it went really well. But this time it went wrong, but that's okay, because the other times it went really well, actually. So that moment was key for me, because I think it broke my ego. But like really,
it shattered your ego.
Yes, 100%. Because when you are shy, the worst thing for you is to get rejected. And when it's a hot girl, it's even worse. it's even worse because then you feel bad about it. Actually, it would be worse if it's an ugly girl that would reject you because that would say something. But in many men's mind, if it's a hot girl rejecting you, it's worse. And that was the case for me. And yes, shattered entirely, broken. And like this mentality didn't change right away. It needed a lot of repetition. It's not because I've done it once that it changed me for good. I've done this, and even the following week, I was still practicing it, just talking to random strangers and picking up girls in the street. I was still doing this, and I was still scared. So it's not because this happened that it changed, but it's the fact of repeating the same action over and over again. Then at some point, it became part of my comfort zone. I think it has a name in psychology. I think it's called shock therapy. I think that's the name of it. It's when you have fear.
Psychological shock therapy, when you're constantly putting yourself in a situation where you have to confront your fear, and then over time, the more you experience that fear, the less intense that fear becomes. It gets duller and duller to the point where it doesn't paralyze you anymore. It's still, the fear doesn't go away, but it's much more manageable.
Yes, absolutely. So that's what happened exactly. I was just repeating, doing the same thing. And now I was proud of myself at that moment because I was like, okay, a few months ago, I wouldn't have had the courage to do this. But today, I'm actually doing it. So that's some good progress. And of course, when you feel like you're progressing, you always want to do more and go further and further. So after that, like I was not doing this every day. It was from time to time.
I wanted to stop you for 1 second and say, because there are going to be many girls and women listening to this podcast, because of the way society is, men are the ones that approach women. That's just how things are set up. We are the seekers. We are the ones who are making the sales pitch 99% of the time. Rarely does a woman come up to a man in the bar and initiate the conversation. It happens. Yes. It can be nice, but it almost never happens. And so I just want to make clear to the women listening to this podcast, like how paralyzing the fear is for a guy to walk up to you or to walk up to a girl in a bar. I've had thoughts early on in my college career, especially when I was a freshman, because I went to an all-guys high school, and then I was thrown in to this just mishmash of girls and sex and drinking, and I'd never really partied in high school. And I remember having thoughts like, I'd rather get shot in the leg right now than have to open my mouth to this girl. That's how scared I was. Like, my friends pressuring me to go up and talk to a girl, and I remember thinking like, dude, like anything. I don't want to, if I was going to die, I would obviously take talking to the girl. But if someone came over and like snapped my ankle right now, I'd honestly take that because I was so fucking scared and so fucking paralyzed. And I'll talk about the things that I did, which are similar to you, but I want to let you finish. But I just wanted to put a marker there and just say, you can't overstate how nerve-wracking it is for a guy to approach a girl, especially in those late teenage, early 20 years when you're doing it for the first time or you're doing it early on. It's tremendously paralyzing.
You're absolutely right. I think they're not even aware of this, like at all. Most girls are not aware of this. They think, yeah, it's normal that a guy comes and talks to me, but like it's horrific. I swear, the first time I did this, I have to say I have no comparison in my life. Like, this was the most terrifying moment in my life, I swear. And I've lost people that I care about. But this, it was so shocking, so intense to do this, to break, to accept rejection like this. It was very intense. I've done bungee jumping. I've done tons of things that could be considered scary. But talking to a girl in the street, it was the most intense I had. And I would
it's almost psychedelic. there's like a psychedelic aspect to it. I have times where I could picture my heart's pounding out of my chest, my vision's blurry, I'm saying shit, I'm not even hearing her, my ears start to ring, and I'm like, did I just take 4 grams of mushrooms, or did I walk up to a girl and try to open my mouth and say something? I literally can't tell right now, and I think a big part of that is that what you said, your ego gets completely shattered, especially in those situations where you get flat out rejected. And our ego is our life. We'll do anything to protect the image that we have of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And when you have an image of yourself as this suave, always cool, always lady man like dude, and that gets broken right in front of you, and it's also in front of other people too, her friends, your friends, strangers, you think all the eyes are on you. And I think a lot of the response is based on that public dismantling of your ego and your spirit.
I understood what the point of my mentor was afterwards. Like, he was trying to humiliate me, but he was not doing this like in a bad way, like in a mean way. He was doing this because he wanted me to be okay with showing vulnerability. And I think at some point you must learn to do this. Like, you must go out there and be willing to take hits. At some point you will take some hits, and you must be okay with this. That was the whole point. Sometimes we were like we were in a supermarket, and like, you know the video game called Just Dance?
Yeah.
You had like the game with pads on the floor, and like sometimes
Dance
we were
Dance
just
Revolution,
going there.
Just Dance, yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing, yeah. So basically you just have to copy the movements you see. And I'm a very bad dancer, and he was a very bad dancer too. But we were just going out there to put on a show and humiliate ourselves. Because I swear, when you do that kind of thing, just like the minutes after, you feel so free. It's fabulous. You feel like you just don't care at all about what happened and how people judged you anyway. And if you are scared that people will judge you, I have to say, people forget about you in 5 minutes. Because they have their things going on in their lives. Yeah, even less. They have their own lives. They have their own problems. They have the things they want to do. And you were just the guy they saw for 5 minutes doing some silly things. But then you're just gone. Like, tomorrow they won't even remember about you. It's done. And that sort of thing was very liberating for me, doing those things. Because I just realized, okay, if I do things, people will think this of me, but does that affect who I am as a person? No. Does that change who I am? No. Do I care about this? Does it change my life entirely? No. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. After this, after a humiliation, you're still the same person. Like, you're still there, you're still the same thoughts, the same feelings. It's just that it helps you to see, okay, rejection is not that bad. Of course it hurts at first. Of course it hurts. Like, it's very shocking. It's very moving as well. But it was necessary. I have no regret of having doing this. It was the best thing I've done.
So did you eventually go to bars and nightclubs and approach women in those types of situations?
That was the next step, because because he saw that I was doing good with the fear, managing the fear, and that sort of thing. So this was done. Now the next step was to improve the game, like improve the way you talk to girls, the way how to increase your chances to actually get laid this evening, and that sort of thing. And that's where you actually learn game, because you cannot play the game if you don't have the mentality of a player. And when you are scared, you cannot be a player. Right? If you play a game, you don't play with the shaking hands and that sort of thing. You play, you just want to have fun. And when you have that mentality, then you can focus on the game and actually the methodology behind it. And you can have someone mentoring you to do this. So yes, the step after was going to bars and nightclubs and practice. And for example, we had games. Every week, we had a new challenge for the day. And I remember one Saturday night, the challenge was to pretend that me and him, we were Americans, just in Lyon for the week. and we were just
Yeah.
looking for hot French chicks to hang out with. And that was fabulous because I would say my English is not bad and his English is not bad either. So it was credible. Like people could believe it. It was not far-fetched whatsoever. And I was talking to a girl. I remember her name. Her name was Clémence. I remember her. And so she believed I was from LA and everything. And at some point, someone drops a glass and the glass breaks. And I say something in French very spontaneously. I say, oh putain, like, oh shit, but in French.
Yeah.
And she says, wow, you actually speak very good French, you know?
Yeah. Oh, she's like, yeah, wow, you're pretty, you know some good slang for an American.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But see, it was also like, I was caught in a lie. Like, what can you do in that case? And after she left,
Yeah.
but me and him, we were laughing so hard, I swear. That was so funny.
Yeah.
But
so was this, or what were some of the techniques or tactics that you would remind yourself of before you approach someone? Because it's more at a certain point with anything, it becomes more than the repetition. It's molding what you're doing. So when you're approaching a woman, you know, what was your goal first of all, and what were some of the things you were thinking about?
Well, first goal is when you approach, it's to create comfort. That's very important. Like you cannot approach that's why you can't approach a girl and say, hey, wanna fuck? Doesn't work, right? You need to create comfort first.
Many guys would disagree.
Yes, but many guys would be wrong.
They're not successful. Yeah, they're not successful, but they would disagree.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, you create comfort. And so you start off, you say something, you know, relaxing. You don't approach straight on. How do you create comfort in a situation?
You have so many different ways to do this. So many. One of them is time. The more time you spend with that person, the more comfort there will be. So time works. Jokes, common interests, just asking questions about her. It's very important because the more she talks about herself, the more mysterious you become to her, because now you know more about her that she knows about you. But also, it's good to see if she's the kind of girl you'd like as well. And it makes her to talk about herself, so she feels like she can be more vulnerable. That was very useful. You can dance, you can do some kind of activities, just have fun. Like, you know the song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun? I think that's really it. At the end of the day, that's just it. It's not harder than this. They just want to have fun, really.
Yeah.
And
like having a good time is something that's important. They want to know that they're going to have a good time.
Yes, like, you know, in seduction, when you go out to pick up girls, they call it the game, so have fun, right? That's the whole point of it. Now, when I go out there and just talk to a girl, my point is not even to fuck her. It's just to have fun. And I swear, when your goal is not like, because when your goal is to fuck, you look thirsty as hell. And that's not good. That's not good at all. Like, the girls see it. They see it immediately. But like when I just go out, like in a bar or nightclub, my goal is just, okay, I'm just here to have a good time with friends, and maybe we'll talk to some people, meet new people. The goal is not to fuck, the goal is to have fun. And the consequence of this is eventually to fuck. If you do
it's not the main goal. It's not the main goal, but it's a byproduct.
Yes, but also you have to be careful, because if you're just having fun and you're not being sexual enough, then she might not be interested. So it's all about, it's like a cocktail, right? You have to put the ingredients with the right amount for each thing. Like you cannot be too sexual, because she might be like, I'm not ready for this. Like she's not ready for this. And if you're not enough, then she might be like, this guy's not interested in me, or like she cannot see you in a sexual way if you're not being sexual.
So were these techniques coming from the book The Game by Neil Strauss? Was that what it's based on?
I know this book. I never read it. So maybe there are these that kind of advice in it, but no.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a... Oh, go ahead.
No, what I read mostly was on the forum, like where I found people.
The
That's where I
forums,
was
yeah.
reading things. Yes, because you have things called field reports. It's where basically people just talk about last night and what they did, and they were with this girl, but eventually the girl didn't choose to go to hang out with them for some reason, and they try to analyze what went wrong and what you can do better for next time, that sort of thing. So that helped me a lot because it was real situations, and you can interact directly with the person, ask him questions to understand how things went, and no, that was really useful, more than any book or
I had I had a breakup at the end of my sophomore year in college. So I was 19, cheated on this girl, told her about it. She broke up with me, of course, and I was very pissed and egotistical about it. And that summer, while I was playing summer baseball, I read The Game by Neil Strauss. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that, like, I never did any of the pickup artist forums. I never met up with anybody that was in a forum, but I did read the book and make very detailed notes. And I would send it around to my teammates. My teammates on who also play baseball were interested. I had Google documents outlining all these chapters because I actually wanted to learn it, and I would go through it and I would review it, and I could pull it up to this day. And I'll say that the two things that I've gotten from the book that have lasted to this day, and I would say the book sparked it in me, just reading about it, is the repetitions. Because a lot of people talk shit about the book, about negging and using these backward compliments, which I'll get into. But the repetitions were key when I would go, because I would be with my friends, and some of my friends would be single, but they wouldn't be interested in talking to other women. So we would play games to get each other to go talk to someone. Like, if you don't talk to this girl within the next 30 seconds, you have to buy drinks for everyone here. So it's like, are you going to spend $50 or go talk to some random girl? And I would also tell myself, when I walk into this bar, I have to talk to 10 girls. Doesn't matter who they are. Just before I leave, I have to start conversations with 10 people. And I think I started with 3 or something like that. I would say I have to talk to 3 people, and then 5 people, and then 10 people. And that got me in the mindset of, let me just have some fucking fun when I go out. Like what you were saying, let me not have my main goal of, okay, I just got to have a breakup. I need to get laid, because you come off as super needy. And so I will say that the repetitions were a part of that book that stuck with me and helped me get through that breakup and have a really good time in college. And also the having fun aspect, that if your main goal is to get laid, it does come off as needy. You come off as someone who's trying too hard. And if you go into a night wanting to have fun and then also express your interest in that girl, that will many times in many situations lead to her becoming attracted to you and wondering what you're doing at the end of the night, rather than trying to fit into her schedule. She will make herself available to you when she senses that you're going to have a good time, even saying things like, oh, like, you know, I'm leaving in 15 minutes, you know, come with me, but it's your choice, something like that. And just making it known that you're going to be somewhere else. Not, it's up to you, but I'm leaving, you can come with me or not. Things like that, where you just have fun and you set a time limit.
Yes, because if a girl likes you, she will make time for you. So that's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. If she really likes you, she will always find a solution to hang out with you. So that's not a big problem. But these things, they take time, like, because at some point I thought, when I was like 16 or 17, I thought I could solve these problems with an inner transformation, like a mystic realization of something, of some kind of magical thinking that would lead me to an absolute understanding of how things work and blah, blah, blah. Well, as you might expect, this thing didn't happen. But what happened, it's I decided to choose to actually go out there and put myself in an uncomfortable situation. Like, things won't change just if you just stay out there and hope for things to change. You have to do something. And yes, it's gonna be uncomfortable. Yes, you are going to be scared. Yes, you are going to feel many bad negative emotions. But at the end of it, the results are there. So there's nothing to say about this. Even for like, even today, I wouldn't say like I'm a master with girls. I wouldn't say that. I would say I'm okay, maybe above average, but like not crazy at all. Like, sometimes I still get rejected. That's part of the game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's the way it is. But I accept rejection much easier. It's not a big deal. Like, a girl rejects me, I'm like, oh, okay, whatsoever. Like, I can find another one, and it's not a big deal anymore.
So did this guy teach you about Negs? Do you know what Negs are?
Yes, I think it's
backhanded compliments.
Yes.
For example, something I remember well from the game is you walk up to a girl and somewhere in the conversation you slide in a backhanded compliment like, oh, I like your nail color. My grandma has the same ones, the same color. So you're saying I like your nails, but you're also saying you have the same nails as a grandma. So it's like you're planting these insecurity seeds that seem like compliments, but it's signaling to the girl that you're above her in some way. You're establishing a power dynamic. That was a big part of the book with the Negs. You want to give someone a backhanded compliment so that you're lowering them and they feel the need to prove themselves to you. I've done that, and now I see how kind of childish that can be, but it's something that was a key aspect of the game.
Yes, well, it's about the validation, right? The point is to it's for you to get her to a point where she needs your validation for things, right? So yes, it can seem childish. I know the neg because in the forum people were talking about this, and like, I don't really use that personally, but like
I did. I had them written out. I had them written out as notes in my phone.
No, that's
and they probably hurt me.
That's a weapon. Negs work. Like, I've seen them working. So if people use it, just use it.
Well, they
Personally,
work.
I didn't.
They work, but they only work on other people who are also insecure. Because this is what I eventually realized, that the negs are built to establish a power dynamic. And so when I use a neg as a guy, when I tell a girl, oh, your hair smells great, it smells like smoke, and I'm giving her a compliment, and then I'm telling her her hair smells like shit, I'm doing that in an attempt to lower her so she has to prove myself to me. But if I am a guy that is sure of himself, why would I need this girl to prove herself to me in order to carry on the conversation or carry on the interaction? I love talking shit. I think negs are different than talking shit. I think it's fun to go back and forth with someone and build a rapport, and then within that conversation, you'll say things in a playful way that can be seen as making fun of someone, but the intonation makes it clear that I'm just playing around. I love that. So I'm not saying you should never play around with people, but when you're negging someone specifically to put that person down, in a way, it's saying that I need this person to view me in a certain way in order for me to feel good about myself. And what I eventually realized is that the reason I'm using these negs is because I need the approval of these girls. The whole reason I started was because I wanted to be sure of myself, and I wanted to have fun. And towards the end of college, yes, I was having a good time, but I was also attracting girls that were insecure, and I was constantly, not constantly, but I was complaining a little bit to my friends, like, oh, like none of these girls, I would never date any of these girls. They're not, wife material. And I realized that if I'm going to continue to use these tactics, that I'm not going to attract someone that is a good woman, because a good woman wouldn't put up with backhanded compliments, at least not on a consistent basis. So I do think there are a lot of positive aspects of the pickup artist game and the game book specifically by Neil Strauss, but the neg thing was something that I grew out of after, you know, a year or two of kind of like trying shit here and there, and just put it down and was like, there has to be a more evolved, mature way to go about this.
Well, first thing, I think it's we have to keep in mind who this book was written for. And I don't think it was written for people who are looking for wife material women, right? I think it's for people who just want to go out there and find a girl and have sex with her, and that's pretty much it. The second thing I would say is that the tools they give you, they don't work on everyone. It's like if you're fighting Pikachu, you're not gonna use electricity.
Yeah.
Right? So of course each tool is going to work on a specific person. If you use an egg on someone who's very self-confident, it's not gonna work. Like as you said, it works on insecure people.
Yeah.
So you have to adapt your strategy. And I think the people that use Negs are not looking for wife material women. They're just looking to have sex now.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I would, wife material may have been the wrong word, but just self-confident women. I wasn't attracting women with high confidence because I also wasn't super confident. I was getting girls. I was sleeping with a lot of girls, but I also wasn't very confident in myself. And, you know, over the course of my college career, I changed my thinking to where, you know, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to say what I want, and I'm not going to need the approval of other people or other girls, whoever it is, in order to feel good about myself. And when I just approach it like that, and with a less formulaic approach, like insert neg here, you know, say this when she does this, approach from this angle, whatever. Once I started to just say, I'm gonna share myself unapologetically, I'm gonna be bold with what I say, be bold with my actions, that's when I felt much better and much more confident in my approach. I was attracting very hot women who were also very self-confident, because I was becoming more confident, and I was having more, like, it was more fun. I was just having a good time because I wasn't really after it as much for the one night stand like it started when I was coming off of the breakup. Like having valuable relationships, even though I wasn't dating these women, I was still having fun and not being manipulative in any way.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the book Art of Seduction, written by Robert Greene, the first thing he says is choose the victim. So in his opinion, what you must do first is choose the girl you want to seduce. That's the first thing. And of course, like, if you don't want an insecure woman, you're not gonna use Negs. Like, you need to adapt your strategy.
Yeah.
And there is not one way to seduce. For example, in his book, he's got 8 archetypes of seducers. So you have the dandy, you have the charismatic, you have the star, you have the how do you like the guy who who is burning with desire for the person. So you have different types of people, and you can see those types everywhere in your everyday life. You have some people that seduce girls or even crowds because they are very stoic, and because they are very they don't express anything, and they are a bit arrogant, but they have their own style. And you have other people that send huge love letters and full of love and desire and passion, and it works with some girls. It works sometimes, not with everyone, but you have different type of seductions. And it was a very interesting book because it helped me to define what my style was and what kind of people I would attract with this. And it was actually very, very useful to see this. So when it comes to the neg, yes, you can use it. It's effective on some type of women, But if you're looking for another type, then you're free to choose whoever you want to seduce. And if you're trying to get this specific girl, then you need to adapt your strategy. On the French website, they call this calibration, like calibration, like just to like actually see what the person is like and what kind of thing would work on her, and what things would be ineffective with her.
Yeah. For anyone who's listening to this podcast or watching that's struggling with approaching women or not feeling like they're attractive, I would recommend the book Models by Mark Manson. It's called Models: Attracting Women Through Honesty by Mark Manson. And in my opinion, it's the higher, more evolved version of The Game by Neil Strauss. And I have a quote, actually. I picked out one of my favorite quotes from the book. And Mark Manson writes, "A non-needy man doesn't try to control what women feel about him. Rather, he tries to control what he feels about certain women. He understands that the world isn't about him and that all he can control is himself and his own actions. He's not bothered when things don't go his way or when people don't recognize him as being amazing because he already feels amazing himself. He doesn't need their approval, and their disapproval doesn't faze him from his mission." So that kind of changed my view when I came across this book of you know, the game is very predator versus prey. Like you said, the art of seduction, you view the other person as a victim, not as your equal. And Models was more, I don't see it as hookups versus relationships. It's just more fulfilling relationships, whatever they are, one night stand, marriage, anything in between, versus the rotating door of trying to prove yourself, if that makes sense. Like one way is trying to prove yourself to other people and relying on their opinions, and the other one is more just treating rejection as something natural that happens.
I think it just all depends on your point of view. Like, for example, The Art of Seduction, it's like a strategy book. It's how do you get from A to Z, period. The one of Mark Manson seems like more about like how to, like about mindset, right? And I would say both can be useful in their own ways, right? So for someone that needs to know like the roots, okay, what steps do I need to do to get there? Then I would recommend Robert Greene's work. If it's about mentality, I would say go take a look at Mark Manson. Is he the guy who wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
Yeah, same guy.
Yeah, okay, that's the same guy. Okay, I think I read this book a long time ago.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I would say yeah, it's a good comparison. The strategy versus mindset. The game is more, this is how you get this. If you want to appear as someone who acts like this, the game will bring you to that point. The people who hang around you, the people who watch you, the people who hook up with you will see you as this person. But if you want to feel it deep in your bones, not just in romantic interactions, but business, friendships, that lack of approval, the walking through life not needing the approval of other people, then from a philosophical standpoint, the book Models would be more in that category. And it's not that one's right, one's wrong. It's just different levels of it, different levels of the game.
It depends on your needs as well. Like, where are you in your progression? Like, what stage are you at? Of course, when you are, I don't know, maybe when you are 16, 17, and you're bad with girls, you just want to know how to get girls, right? So maybe at that point, the strategy book would be the one that would suit you. And maybe when you are 25, 30, you just tired of meeting insecure women or crazy ones, and you just go like, okay, I just want to attract people with a healthy and good mindset. And in that case, yeah, maybe this the Mark Manson's one would be the best. But it depends on what stage are you at. Like, any book can be useful to you at some point if you read it at the right time and for the right purpose. but it all depends on
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the whole progression of what I've read and that sort of vein, and then also the progression that I've seen with myself and that I've experienced. I wouldn't be here without everything that I did earlier on in my life. So yeah, fuck it. It's not even stages. It's just a constant progression of things that blend together.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. But what's really important for me with seduction, it's like you must actually do something to change. Like it cannot happen just like this. Like it's pointless to hope to change like naturally or suddenly, because one day you will wake up and you realized something and now your worldview has changed, and like this is illumination, right? So unless you are the guy that wrote the Power of Now, what's his name? Eckhart Tolle, I think. This guy
Eckhart
had
Tolle, yeah.
Yeah, Tolle, yeah. Unless you are this guy, okay, but most people are not Eckhart Tolle, so like, come on, do something first, step by step,
Yeah.
and then you will start seeing things moving. But like, if I chose that day, the day I was like ashamed of myself, if I chose to not do anything, I wouldn't be here on this podcast, because I would have been too scared to say the things that I've said today. And I probably wouldn't have met you, because I would have been too scared to go on iTalki and teach people online. It would have been too scary. And I understand
so
that
let me ask
when you are facing it, it's terrifying. But what's beyond it, it's worth it.
So let me ask you, I've run my mouth enough about books that I've read. What's a book that has changed your way of thinking for the better? You can point to a spot in your life where it's before this book and after this book. Is there anything, any piece of writing that's been like that for you?
No book changed anything. For me, I'm not saying books are
even if it didn't change it's because a book doesn't change you unless you do anything. Is there a book, documentary, any piece of art that has inspired you to change the way that you act, or open the door for you to walk in and then you eventually did, and that's changed your life?
In that case, I would say
a book that's led to action.
It's not a book, it's music.
And
that would be
Marilyn Manson.
Manson's music. Yeah.
So today I purchased Marilyn Manson's book on Amazon, the one that he wrote with Neil Strauss, because we had talked about Marilyn Manson. Funny. And then I watched some of his music videos. I was reading some articles about him, and I said, okay, I got to read about this guy, especially with all the allegations that are coming out about him right now with sexual assault. And, whether or not it's true, there's a lot of people that are completely discounting Marilyn Manson's career from what I can tell. And he's a very interesting dude, and I wanted to learn more about him as a person, so I bought the book. For you, what is it about Marilyn Manson that changed the way that you think, or that provided a path for you to change your thinking?
In many different ways. The first one, it's okay to be different. That's one of the main thing, because he is a weirdo, and that's okay. It's not terrible, because at some point, I think many people go through this, but when you're 18 or even before that, or even when you're a young adult, you're trying to find, basically, like, you try to fit in at some point, trying to find your place where you belong. And sometimes you're not at the right place, but you still keep doing this for some reason. And his music helped me to realize this. Okay, like, everybody has its people. Like, it doesn't matter if you are a vegan, or if you are, I don't know, into weird sexual practices, or doesn't matter. You always have a niche of people like you, and you can always find people that have the same kind of interest than you. So you're never alone all the time. There are always people like you that want the same thing that you do. And that was really reassuring, because at some point I was feeling like an alien, and I was like, is there something wrong with me? I was listening to Linkin Park when I was younger. There's a song where he says, tell me what the fuck is wrong with me. And at some point I was feeling the exact same way, like, tell me what the fuck is wrong with me. And yes, his music made me realize, okay, there are people like me that are looking for the same kind of things. So it connected me with, like, it was a way to make peace with the world, because at some point I was like, it's me versus the world, like, fuck this shit. And at some point I was like, no, okay, there are people like me. We're just not everywhere, but if you look well, you will find the people you're seeking. So that was one of the first thing. The second is that showing vulnerability is courage. He has many songs where he's at his lowest, but very low, and feels terrible. And I think he's a very good lyricist, so he illustrates that brilliantly. But like, the songs he writes are so secret and intimate, and the fact that he dares to put it out there and perform these songs, that was a lesson of courage for me to see that, because not everyone have the balls to go out there and show how vulnerable they can be, and to show, look, this is where I am now, and look at me. I look miserable, and I am miserable, and I feel miserable. But look at me, man. I'm still here standing up, and I'm doing my shit. I'm doing my art, and you gotta respect me for that. And I found this beautiful. This is beautiful, because like, his universe, it's chaos, but like, it's okay. It's chaos, it's chaotic, but it's okay. You have what it takes to get through this. And his songs are very like heavy. It's very heavy. Sometimes he does ballads or things like this, but usually it's very heavy. And sometimes you feel lost, and he puts these things very well. He shows them basically with his music. That's what is fabulous to me. But the lesson of courage of, look at me, because when you look at him in concerts, he shows his ass and everything. It's like very provocative. And if a normal person would do that, they would say, oh, okay, shit, I'm humiliated for life now, and now I can't do anything about this. And having this courage to do those things, to share feelings like the way he does, and to look like shit to people and still be there, it's fabulous. He said once, if people see you as the worst shit on earth, it's good, because now you can only improve from this. Right?
Yeah.
That's a way to see this.
Yeah. I was surprised at how chill he was in the interviews I watched, because I've only seen him perform before that. I've seen clips of him on stage, and I know his personality. People view him as this wild guy, and he named himself after a sex symbol and a criminal. So I was going into the Larry King interview and also the Nardwuar interview thinking that, oh, this is going to be some crazy guy. And he's very calm and even-keeled, well-spoken. It seems like he thinks very deeply about what he was talking about in those interviews, at least. And one thing he said in the Larry King interview, which I loved, is that art shouldn't provide a solution. Art shouldn't give you answers. Art should inspire more questions. And I thought about that a lot with podcasting, where because podcasting is a talking form, there's a pressure for answers to come along with the talking. But I found that my favorite podcasts, and hopefully people feel this way about some of the podcasts that I've produced, is that it leaves you with questions. You don't listen to a podcast and go, okay, I figured it out. Like, thank God I listened to that podcast. Sometimes you get answers, but I think a great podcast inspires more questions than answers. If you feel, like you got the world solved after you listen to something, after you listen to a 2-hour conversation, you should probably think about what you just listened to more deeply. Or maybe the host isn't doing a good job. And same thing if my favorite music, it doesn't give me answers. It makes me feel good. It makes me question. It makes me, sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable. but it never gives me the answer I'm looking for. It always inspires me to go on a journey that contains answers, but the art is never the answer itself. So I found that very intriguing.
Yes, I agree with this. And like, what's interesting when you listen to a podcast or watch a music video, whatever, it's like you are supposed to give the answer, and that's the same thing for philosophy. At some point, I was reading a lot of philosophy because I wanted to have answers. And on the same topic, you can have many different people with different opinions about the same topic. And you read all this and you're like, okay, so I have like different opinions and they all sound okay, but what do I think of this? Right? At some point, the answers must come from you, because you have your own filter, you have your own values, you have your own way of thinking, you have your own experiences that affected you and the way you perceive the world. So, like, it's not about having your truth, but at some point, something rings more true than other things for you. And that's where music, like, we listen to the same music, but maybe we don't feel it the same way. Maybe it doesn't raises the same questions in both of us or in other people. It's always very different. So the point is just to put something out there that makes you think. Actually. So it's just using something, a mean of expression, whether it might be art or podcast or whatever, to basically help you dive into yourself to find your own answers. Sometimes, you must look outside in the world to find something about yourself. That's what I said at the beginning of this podcast, I think, which is fabulous.
Full circle.
Yes, full circle.
There you go.
How
yeah,
could you dream of a better way to end this podcast?
No, I feel like I'm dreaming right now because it's not possible to bring it full circle as well as you did.
Yes, I know. Talent. What do you want?
Exactly. You're very talented and you're a great guest. And perhaps when I finish the book on Marilyn Manson, we can do an entire 2-hour podcast just dedicated to Marilyn Manson. But I'm glad we got into him at the end.
Well, if you do, let me know, because I need to read his book first, because I didn't read it.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'm going to have it this week. So I'm actually in the middle of a book right now about Vladimir Putin. So I'm going to do my best to get through that. And then we can link up again to talk about Marilyn Manson. And I wanted to end off with a quote actually by Marilyn Manson. Okay. And he said this in a Larry King interview. He said that your quality as an artist is measured equally by people that dislike you and people that love you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And rather than try to explain that, I'll just leave that there so people can question it.
Like as I said, like, I cannot give you answers. You must find the answers yourselves. That's the easy way to answer that. Yes. So I will give you all of the right answers to your life if you subscribe on AUXORO Premium for $5 a month at auxorosupercast.com. They will not be the right answers, but I'll at least provide some answers. But yeah, thank you, Kevin, for hopping on the podcast. It's truly been a pleasure learning French with you as my teacher, and I very much enjoy talking to you. I consider you a friend, and you're always welcome to come hang out in New York should you decide to make the trip. And thank you again for taking the time to do the podcast. Well, thank you, Zach. It was actually even better than I expected. So I'm very glad of this. Thank you for the invitation, because it was the first time for me that I've done a podcast as a guest or as a host. But so it was a new experience for me, which is good. And I hope the people that listen to it actually liked it and can get something out of it to grow and get their life better.
It was an experience and an experience.
Oh, very good. I'm proud of you, Zach.
Yes, and I think the experiment went well. Where can people follow you if they want to book French lessons, follow what you're doing online, do any writing or stuff like that, where can they subscribe? Where can they follow?
Just on iTalki, I have my page. Maybe you
Okay.
can put a link below. It's my
I'll put a link in the podcast for people listening. If you want to book lessons with Kevin that are not at the same time as my lessons, or else I will come find you. Then I will put I'm just kidding. There'll be a link in iTalki, very easy to sign up, and you can go hit Kevin up and he'll show you some French.
Yes. I also have an Instagram, but I don't use it. So
do you want people to follow that?
No, don't follow.
All right.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know why I said that.
Just the iTalki.
Yes, just the iTalki. It's enough.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Kevin, it's been a blast, and I'll see you guys next time.